Simon, what's the latest today?
Well, the latest, John, is that Israeli officials are still kind of coming to terms, I think, with the strength of the international reaction to this incident. Last night we had the UN Security Council statement condemning the violence, calling for a credible and balanced inquiry.
The need for the independent and credible and impartial investigations.
I think some relief from Israeli diplomats here that the language is a little softer than they've been bracing for. The general line still is that they feel they acted well within their rights, and their soldiers involved in this incident that went so tragically wrong were essentially acting in self-defense.
You are approaching an area of hostilities, which is under a naval blockade.
How hard are they working to spin this right now? I imagine time is running out for them because these people are about to get released, or some of them are about to get released and tell their own stories.
Yes, but I mean, they're working very hard. They've got all their spokesmen out and about pushing this story. You know, the Prime Minister Netanyahu cancelled his much sought-after meeting with President Obama in the White House today, so that shows you how important they think this crisis is.
They were mobbed, they were clubbed, they were beaten, stabbed. There was even a report of gunfire. And our soldiers had to defend themselves, defend their lives, or they would have been killed.
And, you know, they're putting out all the video materials that they have gathered themselves, which support their line of argument. They've shown the video that we've been using of their soldiers being beaten up by these activists. They've distributed pictures of the weapons, the knives, the clubs, the catapults that they've found on board the ships. And then in a kind of ironic move today, they've unloaded the aid that was on the ships bound for Gaza, and they've delivered it themselves and invited the international media to film them doing that. So a pretty sophisticated PR operation trying to reclaim some of this lost ground.
Simon, do you have a sense yet of public opinion inside Israel?
Yes, I think it's characterized by being broadly in support of Israel's right to do this. But it's interesting, there's quite a lot of tough talk today in the papers about why they made such a mess of it. You know, that Israelis are very proud of their armed forces. There's a lot of kind of mythology attached to these sorts of operations that they've launched successfully in the past. They hate it when they go wrong. And a lot of the respected defense analysts in the newspapers today are saying that this was a major intelligence failure. We should have known these guys were violent. What happened and whose heads should roll. One or two senior columnists are actually saying that Ehud Barak, the defense minister, should fall on his sword.
And what do the Israelis, the government at least, what does the Israeli government right now want from the U.S.?
Oh, what they always want. They want them to act to kind of take some of the flack in the UN, which I think they successfully did last night. And they want their continuing support on this issue. Publicly, at least, I think so far they're getting that. It's clear to me that President Obama and the Prime Minister were working pretty closely together. I think our own Jake Tapper reports there were 3 telephone conversations yesterday. That's indication of a closely coordinated response, I think. Privately, I think the Americans are increasingly frustrated with the blockade. And I think one of the wider diplomatic issues that's developing here, which the Israelis don't yet seem willing to confront, is the growing international misgivings about the continued blockade campaign.
I just think that leads to the next, next question here is there are more ships coming? I mean, some of these aid groups are putting together more flotillas.
That's right. The Free Gaza movement, which is the kind of umbrella organization that's organized this convoy and several of the previous ones, today is saying that there are 2 more ships that were meant to be part of this convoy that may try and run the gauntlet of the Israeli blockade in the next few days. They're waiting to see, but they're loaded and standing by. And the Israeli officials I spoke to, the foreign ministry here in Jerusalem earlier today, sort of wearily said, yes, we're aware of that.
But they will have to deal with this, geopolitical issue of the blockade going forward. I mean, this is just not going to go away.
It's not going to go away. And it's interesting that there are a number of voices emerging in the Israeli mainstream, saying today, what are we going to do about Gaza? This blockade, we need to punish Hamas. but internationally, is it causing us too much damage? You can feel the tension in the area is palpably higher than a few days ago. And there are lots of things waiting to go wrong now, I think.
All right, Simon, on that cheery note, thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Okay. All the best. Cheers.